a single attribute in your Google Merchant Center feed that determines whether your products get a buy button in AI mode. It's one setting, true or false, on or off. And if you haven't set it, you're not in Google's UCP checkout. It doesn't matter how good your feed is. It doesn't matter how well your ads perform. You're invisible in the transaction layer. Google confirmed this on March 2nd in their first official merchant implementation guide. UCP checkout is live right now for Etsy and Wayfair. Shopify, Target, and Walmart are next. We've been digging through the March 2 guide since it dropped, and there are 3 things you don't want to miss, and I'm going to walk you through all of them. The attribute itself is simple, but there's a dependency chain underneath it, and one part of the chain has nothing to do with Google. It depends on who processes your payments. So you log into Google Merchant Center, your feed looks clean, titles optimized, images approved, price correct. You assume that's enough to show up in AI mode checkout. Well, I'm sorry to say it's not. The native commerce attribute is a product level setting. When it's set to true, that product becomes eligible for Google's buy button inside AI mode and the Gemini app. When it's missing or false, the product doesn't exist in the checkout layer, full stop. Google didn't put this in your default feed spec. You have to add it yourself. Here's how it actually works. When someone searches in AI mode and Google's system recommends a product, it checks the Merchant Center feed for that product's attribute. If native commerce is true, it triggers the checkout session. The AI surfaces the buy button. The transaction can complete inside Google. If native commerce is missing, the system skips to the next eligible product. Not to your site, not to a redirect, just moves on. So you could rank perfectly in AI mode recommendations and still lose the sale because you didn't flip the switch. The fix is straightforward. Add native commerce as a supplement attribute in the Merchant Center. Set it to true for the product you want eligible, and then that's it, it's done. But there is a reason Google specifically recommends using a supplemental feed rather than editing your primary feed, and that matters. Your instinct might be to just add the attribute directly to your main product feed. Please don't do that. Your primary feed is what drives your existing shopping ads. Any structural change in it carries risk. So data processing delays, disapprovals, performance disruptions. Google's own guidance says to add native commerce via supplemental feed specifically to protect your existing ad performance. A supplemental feed in Merchant Center is a secondary data source that adds or overrides attributes for existing products. It references your primary feed by product ID. Google will merge them automatically. So the workflow is keep your primary feed exactly as it is. Create a supplemental feed that lists just the product you want in UCP checkout with native_commerce set to true, and then upload it, and then Google will do the rest. This also gives you control over which products go into UCP checkout. You might not want everything in there. Out of stock SKUs, custom items, products with complex variants. The supplemental feed approach lets you be surgical. So I recommend start with your top 20% of products by revenue. Get those into a supplemental feed with native_commerce as true. Validate them in Merchant Center, then expand from there. That's the safe way to do this without gambling your shopping ads performance. Remember, I said dependency chain goes beyond Google. So you've added the attribute, your supplement feed is live, you're eligible technically. But UCP checkout still doesn't work, and here's the reason why. UCP uses something called Agent Payment Protocol. Payments run through Google Pay tokens, specifically FPANs, funding primary account numbers stored in Google's wallet for a transaction to complete. Your payment service provider has to support Google Pay tokens. If your PSP doesn't support it or it's not enabled on your account, the checkout fails. The buy button exists, the customer tries to use it, and nothing will happen. Google Pay tokens support support isn't universal. Now, Stripe supports it, but plenty of similar PSPs and regional processors haven't implemented it yet. Or they support Google Pay in theory, but haven't enabled the specific token flow UCP requires. Your merchant center won't tell you this is broken. Your shopping ads will keep running normally. Now, here's what it comes down to. Google's UCP gives AI agents a single integration point to complete purchases across every merchant in the protocol. But getting into that protocol isn't automatic. It's a chain. Your feed has to have the attribute, and that attribute has to point to a product in stock with accurate data. And your payment processor has to handle Google Pay tokens. The attribute is the easiest fix. The PCP conversation is one most people will avoid until it's urgent. Don't be that brand. Now you know how to get your products into Google's checkout layer. The attribute, the supplemental feed, the PSP conversation. But here's the biggest picture that puts all of this in context. The reason this attribute matters so much right now is that Google won the AI commerce layer before most brands realize there's a fight. 83% of products ChatGPT recommends when someone searches for something to buy come from Google Shopping, not from OpenAI's own catalog, but from Google's data. OpenAI tried to build their own native checkout to compete with that. 5 months later, they shut it down. About a dozen Shopify merchants went live. And while everyone was watching that story, most people missed what it actually proved about who controls where your products show up and why. The next video, which is shown somewhere above, breaks down exactly what happened, why Google's positions can't be replicated, and what the Amazon angle is that almost nobody has joined up correctly. If you're going to invest time getting your feed right, and you should, that video tells you why it's the most important thing you can do for AI commerce right now. So make sure you watch, and I'll see you there.